something. So if I press go on, I think it's like a two-stage thing. It says you're live.
I'm live.
I think so. Yeah.
All right. Hey everyone. Welcome to Overlow's live stream Q&A about Facebook ads targeting. You can see I'm in my fancy new setup. Let me know what you think. We put a lot of effort into putting this together, but let's get straight to the content today. So if you're on this live stream, you probably already saw the part 2 of our Facebook ads course where we talked about Facebook ads targeting. I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm not just going to review the content, but for the next 30 minutes, I'm going to take your questions in the chat, and I have a helper. Her name is Anna. So if I don't get to your question on the camera, Anna will get to it in the chat. So you want to pay attention on both fronts there. And then for the most part, I'll also be giving you some additional tips and insights on Facebook ads targeting. And so we're actually going to jump into the screen sometimes, and you're going to be able to watch me do some of the stuff that I'm talking about, just like in the actual Facebook ads course. So as always, let's before we start, just remind you guys that if you want to see this recording after it's finished, if you don't get all the way through or whatever the reason is, subscribe. And you also want to subscribe because on Thursday we're dropping a part 3 of our Facebook ads videos, and in that video we're going to talk about budgeting for your Facebook ads. So a huge topic, really important, and you don't want to miss it. So subscribe so that you know exactly when we drop that video. Okay. Enough with the calls to action. Let's get to the meat of the course. I'm going to do a quick scan here and see who's online. And we've got a couple people to say hi to. Thanks for joining. And I think we can like jump right into some of the content here. So what I want to talk about first, so we're going to talk about 3 things in our live chat today. The first is locations to target. The second is audience interests to target. And the third is audience size. Let's talk about locations to target first. So in the last video, we mentioned the big 4, and those are the US, Canada, Australia, and the UK. These are 4 big e-commerce markets. In our video, we told you to go ahead and create an ad and target all of those 4 countries in one audience. However, I want to add a little bit of nuance to that lesson here. And I'm guessing that if you're joining us live, you're probably the type of dropshipper who's interested in going into the details and getting a little bit more insights there. I see some directorial comments there. I can't really tilt the camera we've got set up here, but I'm going to note that for the future. So let's talk about locations to target. A couple of dropshippers will actually recommend that you separate out the US from Australia, Canada, and the UK. And the reason is that the US is such a huge market and such a different beast that having it in the same ad set could kind of lead you to some insights that maybe aren't exactly on point. And if you separate them out, you can see which insights are US specific and which insights are related to the other markets. That might be something that you try doing if you want to really get a fine-grained understanding of the data that you're getting from your Facebook ads. Another thing to try is to separate out your ad sets by country. And I'm actually going to try to jump into the screen and show you exactly how to do that. And I've got my co-producer here, Danny, and he'll give me the thumbs up once I am able to be in the screen here. Okay, so you should now see my screen. I've got a fake leggings dropshipping store that I have set up. If I want to separate out my ad set by country and I want to run a different ad set for each country, then at this stage, in the campaign stage of setting up the ad, I'm going to have to create a split test here. And then when it says variable, what do you want to test? I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create, I'm going to select audience. Okay? Now, when I press continue, and I'm in the ad set phase now, you're going to see, we'll just scroll past this. We go through it in another video. Here we see the variable. See, we've got audience selected. That's what we did in the first step. Now we see audience, and here's our different ad sets. Ad set A and ad set B. What we would do for these then is edit it. So say I wanted to have the United States in one ad set and then I wanted to test all other countries here, I would just edit this. And then here for locations, I would go ahead and include Canada. And remember, I would take out the US because I'm targeting that in ad set A. I would include the United Kingdom. And I would include Australia. Okay, I've got a question I see about audience sizing. We'll get to that at the end of our talk. I just want to make sure that I'm giving some kind of organization to this live chat. So I do have a question about how many ad sets to run to test a new product. Boy, there are so many answers to that. I wish I could say there's one answer. I've got some requests to expand to full screen, so I hope that this is better. There's really no correct answer. As many as you can afford, honestly, you'll get a lot of answers that way. But if you just start with one ad set, that's something to start with, right? I also just want to reiterate that we've got some people asking about campaign budget optimization. So so campaign budget optimization right now is something you can switch on or off. But starting September 1st, it will be automatic. So Facebook is doing this with all ad accounts. So just keep that in mind when you're thinking about campaign budget optimization. It's not going to be something you can even opt in or out of starting on September 1st. Jumping back here into our audience. So here you see that when I've created this audience with the other 3 countries of the Big 4, I've got this option here in locations to choose to target everyone in this location, or if I drop this down, I can see that I can target people who live in this location, people recently in this location, or people traveling in this location. What to pick here? You're going to pick people who live in this location, because if you choose any other option, you're going to include people who are just traveling through, and these might be people who don't speak the language that your ad is in. These could be people who actually live in a country where e-packet shipping isn't available. These are basically people who you don't really want to pay to get in front of because they are so unlikely to become a customer. So make sure when you're choosing locations up here, you choose people who live in this country. I've got a question about what do you think of targeting e-packet countries, Jim asks. So the advice I give is go for it. Target e-packet countries. All of these countries that we selected here are e-packet countries. The one thing to note is not every country that has e-packet shipping is a really strong e-commerce market. In other words, it might be cost efficient to get products there, but maybe there just aren't a lot of people online shopping there, or at least not compared to the number of people who are online shopping in the US and Canada. So that's why we recommend for absolute Facebook beginners to start with these Big 4 countries, either in one ad set or in multiple ad sets like I just showed you how to do. Okay. Now, so I'm just going to update this. I'm going to take a look at my notes, make sure I'm covering everything. Yep. Okay. The next thing that I want to move on to and talk about is Facebook audience interests. Now, this can be a real rabbit hole, but I'm not going to go too deep. I will leave resources in the description below this live video to a Facebook ads ebook that we've got, and that teaches you to go really deep in finding Facebook audience insights. To review, in the last course part that we did, we talked about how to use Facebook audience insights, the tool that Facebook has to find what your potential audience's interests might be. The one caveat with that advice is that we did use some assumptions when we were using Facebook audience insights. Let me go into that tool and just show you what I mean. So I'm going to go up here and I'm going to click audience insights. I see some questions. Oh, we've got Akash says, for targeting audiences, do you always target the pages that people like? That's definitely an option. Sorry, I'm just going to press leave page. And that's definitely an option, but I'm about to show you a couple more ways to do that. Another question, Mo says, can you start dropshipping with 100 pounds? Definitely, absolutely. You just need to budget smart and do a lot of research before you start paying for your Shopify store, before you start paying for ads. Do as much as you can to get free traffic, but that's totally possible. Okay, so this is the tool we talked about last time, right? We talked about guessing at an interest. Remember, I was selling a dog water bottle, so I might say like dog lovers. There we go. Like that could be an interest. It's just a shot in the dark though. There's nothing that I'm doing, no research that I'm doing to get to this interest in particular. Nonetheless, it gives us some page likes. And I noted in the last video that you can use these page likes to then build your audience in the ad creator tool. But there are other ways to do this, and actually good old-fashioned Googling can be a great way to find some interests to start out with that are a little bit more informed than just something like dog lovers. And I want to point out a couple different ways to do this. So what am I going to do? Actually, I'm going to fire up a doc because I just want to show you guys what I mean here. You should see a document here. So what you want to start Googling is you want to Google niche related, let's not bullet that quite yet, niche related brands or products, magazines or blogs, websites, whoops, another category here, websites or stores, public figures, that's celebrities, or events. Now there's more on this list, but this is a good starting point. What I would do with this, if I'm running my dog accessory store, selling my dog water bottle, is I would go to Google now. And I would search, for example, okay, say I want to do brands or products. I could say dog accessory brands. Now, we see right away we've got these great lists of lists. So these are dog brands. These are British made, so maybe that's a bit too niche, but this could be amazing if I wanted to target my UK audience in particular with this. But we've got here indie dog companies. That could be really interesting to check out. So if I click this, I see a bunch of brands that could be good to include in my audience interests or to at least explore. So Harper and Hugo, Beast and Babe, and I can go back here and I can check them out to see if maybe that's an interest I can put. Harper and Hugo. Maybe not. Let's try Beast and Babe. Maybe not. Maybe because these are indie, that could kind of affect things a little bit. But that's the game you're playing, right? Is you're going to be doing this research, finding these brands, and then cross-checking them to see if these brands are interests you can actually target on Facebook. That's the research that you're going to do to succeed that other people will do a shortcut of, and they're not going to actually take the time to be that thorough. So even though you can use audience insights and you can take those guesses as you're beginning, if you have that little bit of extra time to go Google these interests and figure out what are the brands, what are the events, what are the celebrities that matter to your potential audience, that's going to make your ads much more intelligently targeted. I'm just going to do, I'm going to answer some questions. So I see that Geraldine asks, are these things applicable if I'm the only one running my store? Definitely. Tons of dropshippers that we talk to are the only ones running their stores. And when they were just starting out, they didn't have any help. So you don't need any professional to help you. You do need to do your own research, but that's what we're here for, trying to help you out. Okay. I see there are lots of other questions, and luckily we've got the community helping each other answer these questions. I want to touch on some other topics, and one of those topics that comes up a lot for this group is audience size, right? So the audience size that we recommended in our video was 200 to 500,000 people. That is a bit on the small side. So I would say if you're trying to create an audience and you're not sure whether it should be a little bit under that number or a little bit over that number, go for larger audiences, because Facebook will give you data on how to intelligently narrow that audience later on. In this case, think about, especially if you're going after the US as a separate market, you can even have that audience be as big as about 2 million people, and you'll still be able to run a cost-effective ad and learn from that ad. For other markets, up to 1 million people is fine, right? And the goal is to narrow it down as Facebook teaches you what kind of ads and what kind of audiences are attracted to the ads that you're running. We have some questions that I'm going to try to take, and thank you for those of you who are giving me a little bit of advice. I'll pull the mic closer, and hopefully that makes it easier to hear me. We have is letting Facebook ads choose your audience a better idea than trying to target the audience for yourself? The answer is in short, yes. But when you're just starting out, sometimes it's cost effective to give Facebook a little bit of a nudge with this audience research. That said, not this Thursday, but next week, we're going to drop an interview with a dropshipper named Chris Wayne, who his Facebook ad strategy is very much about letting Facebook do all the work. Like we mentioned in the very first course, there are so many different ways to run Facebook ads, and a lot of successful Facebook ads depend on very store-specific, product-specific factors that only you will know over time as you get to know what kind of people engage with your products. The advice we give is a good foundational advice, but always be looking out and exploring for those other tactics for making the most of your ads. So maybe it's the case that you run one ad with some audience interests already in there, and you run another ad without, and see which one performs better for you, or which one you're learning interesting things from. Always more experimenting is better. We had another, Noor asked, why not start with only the US? Noor, you can definitely start with only the US. I think the caution there would just be that you don't have to start with only the US. A lot of dropshippers assume that because the US is such a big market, they should only focus there. But we've talked to plenty of dropshippers who make most of their profits outside of the US. So maybe start with the US to learn. And certainly if you have more money to spend, the US can be a good place to do that. But as you succeed, keep in mind that there are lots of other dropshipping markets that you may be able to find success in. And you're not limited to where your customers have to be, right? Your products are coming from suppliers in China, and they can ship to any customer in the world, although we do recommend e-packet countries be a little bit of a limiting factor there, but I don't think you'll find it too limiting. Okay, scrolling through. Let's see. Another question about what the best type of ad is for clothing stores. So we are going to get into creating the ad itself on Thursday, which is another reason why you have to subscribe, so that you go ahead and get the notification when we do drop that next course segment. But one thing that we say in that ad is that when you can create a video, you should create a video. They just tend to get more engagement. Plenty of dropshippers have success using images, but the videos just pop out in a way that static images don't. Now, the important thing is to make sure your video is formatted for the placement. So if you've got a video that's a long format, that's good for an Instagram story. If you're able to crop it, that could be great for an Instagram post or a Facebook post. So just be mindful of that, right? But if possible, buy a test product and just show it in action. Wear it, twirl around your backyard. It can be as simple as that. It's something that no one else, very few other dropshippers will take the time to do. Okay, scrolling through for more questions. If I'm answering questions that the community already answers, forgive me. There's such an active chat, which is awesome, but I may not get to it. So we've got a question about, Viral asks, I'm from India, can I dropship in the USA? You can dropship from anywhere. So as long as you have an internet connection, you can dropship to customers anywhere else in the world. That's the true beauty of dropshipping. So I would encourage you, no matter where you are, if you've got a Wi-Fi connection that's rather reliable, go for it and try selling to customers in the US. A question from Parvez asks, what's the minimum daily budget for beginners? So we created this Facebook course with beginners in mind. And the minimum daily budget that we recommend is $5 a day. That's going to get you a little bit of data at a time. Now, there's a trade-off here, right? Because if you're spending $5 a day on ads, you're not going to drive too much traffic to your store. So your pixel is not going to learn all that much in a short amount of time about your audience. You're going to need more time to learn that, which could add up. I will add, during the time that you're running these ads, you can also be trying to drive free traffic to your store, right? And so reaching out to Instagram influencers and Reddit and other forums and trying to use these other forums to drive free traffic is a great way to still be learning from your customers about what their behavior is like on your site without paying for ads. Make sure that you've got Google Analytics installed and your Facebook Pixel installed before you do that. And also head to our YouTube channel because we just did a whole video about how to get free traffic sources, and it's great for exactly that. Let's see. Michael asks, what are the best strategies to captivate the audience's attention? The best strategies to captivate audience's attention, a lot of this starts with the product selection. I'm not going to lie to you about that. But what you really want to hone in on is, what is the problem that your product is solving or the benefit that it's giving? And so if your product, for example, helps someone, I don't know, clean their bathroom in half the time that it usually takes them, you want to lead with that. Lead with the pain. Like, don't you hate wasting a day trying to clean your bathroom? Or don't you hate that disgusting feeling of pulling hair out of a drain? This product solves all that because it's the XYZ. So instead of starting with features, you don't want to say we're talking about like there's this little mat that prevents hair from going down the drain, and we featured it in one of our videos. Instead of saying, hey, this is a silicone hair catcher and it fits all drains and it prevents hair from going down the drain, you want to start with painting a vivid picture of how gross it is to have to get hair out of a drain. Sorry to use a gross example when I'm talking to you guys live here, but I think that really, if all of you guys are feeling kind of yucky right now, then that's exactly what I'm trying to get across. You want to make your audience feel something and feel like they need this product to either feel that positive feeling that you evoked or get rid of the negative feeling that you evoked. Okay, back to the questions here. We also have, so Akash asks about us doing a case study, building a store from scratch and scaling it. We do have a store build online. So if you go to the YouTube channel, you can see there's a thumbnail with a purple background and my colleague David is on it, and he builds a store from start to scratch, from scratch rather. From start to finish. He doesn't go through launching an ad, but I think that's a great idea because so many people would learn from us doing that. And I would actually subscribe because our plan is to run the ads that we're taking you through in this 3-part Facebook ads course, and then have a bonus segment where we talk about, okay, we ran the ads, what can we learn from the numbers, and how do you determine whether to scale ads or kill ads? Because I know a lot of you had said that is a decision that you have a lot of trouble with. You know, you run an ad and you just don't know, well, are these good numbers or not? So we'll definitely touch on that, but you have to subscribe to make sure you don't miss it. Mike asks about installing Google Analytics. If you go onto your website or search Shopify, you should be able to find a lot of help with that. But if you don't hesitate to reach out to anyone on our support team and we'll get you set up with that right away. It's really easy. It's just a matter of copy and pasting some code. Doku asks a great question about building a store for women. And this is, okay, this isn't really related to ads, but I just want to address it quickly. If you're selling clothing that comes in Chinese sizes, it's really important that you are clear on what sizes, how sizes match up. So make sure you create a sizing chart, and you can ask suppliers for sizing charts because oftentimes they'll have a chart that helps you translate their Chinese sizes into Western sizes. And share that chart with your customers, because the last thing you want is for your customers to order the wrong product, the wrong size, and then have to return it and you'll lose the sale. Okay, back to Facebook ads here. Dave Black says, does the Facebook pixel work for Instagram? Definitely. Yeah. Facebook owns Instagram. So when you're launching these ads and choosing where to run them, the default is that you'll actually run them on Instagram as well as Facebook. And so anyone who is logged into Instagram and sees your ad and clicks on it, the pixel is keeping track of that and is watching them in your store as well. So that is a yes. And Mita asks, how can we create an Instagram ad on Facebook Business, or is it something else? Yeah, so you would do it on Facebook Business. And actually, I'm going to pop into my screen and just show you how, because it's so easy. You're going to go through all the steps that we did to create this Facebook ad. But when we get to placements, I'm going to go back to my ads manager. When we get to placements, you're just going to select Instagram. So I'll show you what I mean. And we go over this in Thursday's video. So if you don't recognize the steps that I'm about to take here, don't worry about it. We'll go over them step by step on Thursday. So say we want to continue with this. We've got placements here. To only run a ad on Instagram, you're going to go to Edit Placements. And then you can see here, you can choose whether your ad appears on Facebook feeds and instant articles. And here you see what exactly that means to be in an instant article, for example, or an in-stream video. So you see a preview of what your ad might look like on the right. Say you just wanted to run an Instagram ad, you would just uncheck Facebook and uncheck Audience Network, uncheck Messenger. And now you only have Instagram feed and stories. Now, as you know, Instagram feed and stories are very different dimensions from one another. So make sure that as you're uploading your creative in the next step, you do the right dimension. So if it's a feed ad, it could be square or different sizes. If it's a stories ad, you want it to be more elongated. So just keep that in mind. Cool. Okay, I'll take one more question and then I'll sign off for the day, and I'll see you guys on Thursday for the next installment. We have a question about if you send enough traffic to a specific product, you can get a sale. So what advice do I have on profit margins so you're making money rather than losing it? This is something where every dropshipper has their own advice on profit margins. In the video, when you go to our YouTube channel homepage, you see Andreas and Alexander. And Andreas has a very specific formula that he uses. You're going to want to watch the video because I may not quote it to you exactly right. But I think Andreas was saying, if you subtract, say you're selling, your leggings for $20 and they cost you $10, then you've got a $10 profit with every leggings that you sell. And I'm just saying the cost of the product here is $10. So Andreas's advice is to spend $30 advertising your leggings. And if you don't get a sale with that $30 ad budget, then you may not have a great product on your hands. You can always give yourself a little bit more wiggle room, but that's his rule. Go back and watch that video and try to look for that exactly. We did have a little text pop out to help you keep that in mind, but that's a great way to kind of give yourself some guidelines so you don't spend too much money on a product that may not be a winner when your next winning product is right around the corner. Okay, so I feel like I've gone through a lot today and I hope it's been helpful to you. As always, if you have any feedback for me on ways that we can make this live session a bit more valuable for you, please leave it in the chat. I'll go back and read it after we're done. Make sure you subscribe. Our next video is all about how much money to spend on your Facebook ads, and you're not going to want to miss that. And I'll see you live after that next video next Tuesday right here, same place, same time. All right, see you guys later. Thanks for joining.